Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Spectrum wants to hear your views. You can SMS at any time during the show. Type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Hello, a very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. I'm your host, Edmond Chizito. On Spectrum tonight, Uganda at 50. How can the country deal with the bottlenecks, hampering development and effective service delivery? Uganda will be 50 years old next month, a time for which many are calling for reflection about challenges and opportunities that exist for the country today. Among the challenges the country faces are phenomenally low levels of development and poor service delivery. When Uganda got independence in 1962, it was anticipated that self-rule would propel the country forwards faster because colonialists were often accused of only focusing on looting from the country. When tracking the development trends in Uganda, analysts say that at independence, the country was at equal footing with the so-called Asian tigers, that is, Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan. They say Uganda should be far better off than these countries, given its abundant natural resources. But they have also observed that unlike the Asian tigers, Uganda has suffered persistent political turmoil, destroying the foundation that the British colonialists and independent founding fathers had laid. The NRM has been in power longer than all the other regimes combined, and it is during this time that the economy has recovered, with revenue collections now standing at about 7 trillion shillings from only a few billions previously. Donor support has also increased during this time, save for a few recent cuts. Several plans have also been drawn to spur development, and now there is talk about a Uganda Vision 2040. Despite such remarkable achievements, development levels remain low and the level of service delivery is equally woeful, considering critical areas such as healthcare, education, infrastructure, and several others. So tonight on Spectrum we ask, what are the bottlenecks that are hampering development and service delivery in this country? Also, how is procurement and poor planning worsening the situation? What kind of reforms need to be undertaken to better the country? Our guests tonight, Honorable Engineer Gabriela Jedra, Arua Municipality MP, also incoming State Minister for Investment. You're most welcome, Honorable Engineer.
Thank you very much, everyone and listeners. Good evening.
We're also joined by Honorable Alex Biarugaba, Isinjiro South MP, Chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee. You're most welcome, Honorable Biarugaba.
Thank you very much, and good evening, listeners.
Honorable Engineer Jedra, what is Uganda's largest structural problem 50 years after independence?
Wow, that's a complete thesis by itself. There are quite a number of structural problems. We took government took very good steps to liberalize the economy. That was very good. The intentions were very good. But I think in the process, we did not anticipate certain challenges as a result of that liberalization. And those are the bottlenecks that I think which are hampering our development today. So there's need for us now to take stock, really, in this process of liberalization. Have we addressed all the systemic and structural problems in the system? That's what we need to look at. Quite a number of them. Structural problems. You see, one of the problems we've had as a country, of course, was the political instability for quite a long time, even since when NRM came to power. The first few years were basically spent fighting Konyi, fighting various rebel groups. So that took us back some time. You see, you made a comparison to the Asian tigers like South Korea. I have been to South Korea about 3 times. And it is true, at independence 1962, Korea and Uganda were just about the same level. But it's important to note that South Korea does not have what we call natural resource. Absolutely none. I've traversed that country and there's absolutely none. Now, what they did, the South Koreans did, I think it's a lesson that we need to learn from, is that they invested in education very heavily. And it is through education that innovation started. That's why these major companies like Samsung, Hyundai, many other companies, they took the path of research and development. So it is something that we need to learn as a country. that, you know what, if you invest in education, if you invest in research and development, it will yield the results. Now, the problem that we have is that, yes, we are an agricultural country, which employs close to about 80% of our people. But you see, you cannot live on, as the Bible says, you cannot live by bread alone. You can't live, the country cannot survive on agriculture alone. You have to diversify. I will give another example. Botswana, you see there, it's a desert. Where I worked there for 10 years. 10 years, it's a desert. But eventually when they discovered diamonds, the resource that they get from diamonds, they have been able to diversify. They say, you know what, this is a finite resource, which at some point in time will die out. So what should we do? We should diversify the economy. And as we speak right now, tourism is the second largest earner in Botswana. And the government has invested very heavily in tourism. Uganda has that opportunity, you know. We have the opportunity to promote tourism. All right. I think you've given us, go on, sir. Yeah, so we need to take stock. All right. What is it that what can really develop our country? We should not be doing all sorts of things at the same time. We try this bill, that one. We shouldn't. We should take stock and evaluate what are the necessary things. Where should we concentrate our efforts so that we will be able to take this country to the next level? Now, there are certain things which, one of the structural problems which also set us back is infrastructure. You see, even if you produce something, you must take it somewhere else for some other person to consume. Even if we produce honey in West Nile, for example, that honey must come to Kampala for people to... Okay, we'll talk about infrastructure and maybe break it down eventually, whether it's knowledge-based infrastructure or physical infrastructure. But some of the points you've raised, Botswana is raised as one of the case studies for clean governance. They've done diamonds and the money goes direct to service delivery. Nigeria is the opposite. They've got a lot of oil and a lot of money has been lost to corruption. We'll go deeper into some of these issues that you've raised, and then we'll also talk about the infrastructure and define what kind of infrastructure one needs. Some people have overemphasized roads. Argentina, Brazil, the world's sixth largest country, has only 14% roads under tarmac. We'll look about that and see how Uganda can pick lessons. Honorable Biarugaba, give us your own analysis. Uganda's largest structural problems 50 years after independence.
Well, thank you very much once again, and my dear listeners. I look at a few of these issues. One is maybe the civil service. We did inherit a very small civil service, which was very highly motivated, very well educated, very well paid, and I think was very nationalistic at that time. I'm using the word nationalistic deliberately.
You're avoiding patriotism.
Very patriotic Ugandans at that time took over from the colonial era regimes and ran this country as civil servants. They were very good. There was no corruption mentioned at that time. My colleague has just told you, Uganda actually was ranked possibly number one in as far as civil service was concerned, the way they were doing their work. Today, I think, is something very different. We have a civil service that is very demotivated, I think sometimes very big, very poorly paid, and very poorly facilitated, but also corrupt. I must say this. If I don't mention it, I will be, I think, unfair to myself, my conscience, and also to the people listening to me. You've had cases of corruption of recent. Those were not there during those days after independence. So structurally, I think there is a problem as far as civil service is concerned, and I think this is something government must address rather very urgently. Another issue, I think my colleague did allude to it, privatization of our economy. When you look back, we did inherit a very good industrial base, small as it may have been at that time, but it was quite efficient and enough to run our small economy at that time. But small as may have been, it was a lot bigger than many African economies. But what did happen in between? What happened? Why were we running these industries, and all of a sudden when we did privatize them, they all collapsed? I think it was because we were not prepared maybe to do it at that time. We did it a little bit, we rushed into it. We didn't know about business. You know, except those of you who were there in Uganda during the time of Mafuta Minji, economical stuff.
I was there.
You were there.
I was there.
I was also there. I mean, Kampala Road was not Kampala Road you see today. These shops were there, yes. There is not much of the buildings that have been added on. They were the same shops maybe, but what were we selling? Kabalagala, sweet bananas, small stuff. And I think that's where we lost it at the end of the day. We jumped into something which we were not prepared for. We were not good entrepreneurs for that matter. We were not even good copycats. We could not even copy from our predecessors in the economy, those we had chased. They were chased by you and me, by our parents, by our brothers and sisters who were wielding power at that time. They were doing it. They claimed they were doing it on your behalf, on my behalf, on his behalf. So we must all take blame for it. We must take blame for it, because unless we think maybe we are not Ugandans, but we were, and we must take care of it. So most of these were very good. The transport sector was doing very well. The hotel sector was doing very well. But the health sector was doing very well. For instance, today we are running battles. We had running battles, Parliament and government. Why should we have running battles on health? One actually member raised and said, hey, we used to have just a few hospitals, but these few hospitals, brothers and sisters out there, they were well equipped. That's very true. But we don't also deny the fact that, yes, we also rushed out a little bit. Do you know, we had gone as far as health center tools at the parish, Muruka. Muruka is a parish.
Yes.
That's where we were under this regime. We had gone from the district. We had only 18 districts, maybe probably only 18 hospitals. Today we are having how many constituencies? Over 190 direct constituencies. And in each constituency there is a health center. But unfortunately they are not well manned. That's very true. There is no operating theatre at that level. They are there, the structures are there, but there are no personnel. So I think there is something we need to go back and revise. Are we running a bit fast? Or too fast for our own, we are not able to consume what we are trying to put in place. Consume in a way that you have many structures, healthy unit structures, but they are not
equipped, not even
adequately equipped with personnel and equipment. So I think there is a problem. Now, the question is, should we go back to that only one hospital in Mbarara district, which was so big, or should we go at that level of a sub-county, Gombola for that matter, which is moderately equipped to make referrals to this big hospital, and maybe in the meantime we do hold the health center tools. But the health center tools are also necessary. So it is a
structure, regional, national referral, regional referrals, district referrals. That's how it was supposed to be.
Yeah, remember regions are very big. Regions think of Western region for that matter. Think of Northern region. How will a man from Madiokoro who needs some referral to Guru travel, no money, no ambulance?
The way it's supposed to happen, you have one at the bottom, then it refers you to the district, then the district refers you to the region. They should be able to take you there technically.
That's now
then the region takes you to Malawi if they have to transport you.
Whereas the structure is there in writing, but it's not adequately funded, not adequately equipped, not adequately manned. So those are some of the problems I have been seeing over time. When you look at education, of course, education you have done well, I must say, to a great extent. The quality might not necessarily have been good, but when you look at what it used to be at that time, immediately after independence, one university, Makerere University, were all rushing, squeezing into Makerere University. It was a godsend to go to university. Going to university, they even had to beg you to eat their food at university. In a tie, I was a member of Livingstone Hall. You had to put on a tie to go to a dining hall. You get? Not anymore. There are many now universities. There is competition, and I think that on that one, I think we have scored to a great extent. There is privatization, there is competition, therefore even the quality we are churning out most likely is not necessarily bad, except at the other lower levels, primary. Primary, we still have those challenges, but I think at university, honestly, we are churning out quite a good materials to a certain extent, and I think this is good. We had one university, we have now over 30. We had one Radio Uganda, we have now 100. I was a DJ in Radio Uganda. Oh, you were? I was a DJ when I was at the desks. Oh my God, I was like Alex in Daula. I did do that job.
To see a photo of you.
Oh my God, it was the only radio at that time. So you can imagine what it meant. I was a student at Makere, but
never through the government. You only
needed to surround the Radio Uganda, and that was it. And you are in power. So, and I think we have made some tremendous steps on that angle.
Right.
We are now going digital. You've heard of digital migration. This is very good. The hotel industry, it was only Uganda hotels and nothing more.
Owning chains.
Look at it now. It's almost unbelievable. So I think we have, in some sectors, we have done very well. In some, we are still really dragging our feet. We are still doing really very, very badly. Look at even the infrastructure. We are going to the extent, we had a few roads, of course. There are now many, quite a number. They might not necessarily be enough, but I must say, we've tried. There's some trial being made by government, and I like this the way government is now trying to do it. He is a minister. He's going maybe to elaborate a little bit more. Attracting investors to come and invest in our infrastructure, say roads like this new expressway you are going to see. I've seen the what is it called? The artistic impression of that road. For goodness sake, I have not seen it anywhere except in this road from Beijing airport to the central Beijing. It's almost the same.
It's a freeway.
It's a fantastic freeway, but you must pay to use it.
It's a road toll.
You must pay to use it. Supposing we got so many of that stuff, that style, and I think the minister is here to tell us this is, we are very lucky today. So I think even in power generation we were almost stuck until the private sector was invited. So the structure structurally, if only we could go back a little bit and say, put our feet down and say, no more corruption. No more corruption from top to bottom
of their sins.
People should repent of their sins.
Putting their hand in the honey.
But we should also repenting might not necessarily be enough. We should put in place very, very punitive measures through a law. And this one, there is a...
you see, the law will not be enough, honorable colleague. The law is not enough.
I think a law, you see, they say, law forms the basis of justice.
True.
If you have a bad law, you will have no good justice. A justice system across the board, including, of course, if you may say, Biarugaba, he's a thief, look at his belly, it is bulging. Maybe I have some worms in my stomach, I'm not necessarily very corrupt. This is not proof. But the moment I'm proved to be corrupt, there should be a punitive steps taken to distract, to disinterest any other person likely to take what I did.
Right.
So the law really forms the basis of justice, and we as Parliament should come out very strongly to change the whole structure of the public service, or of the way we do things, about corruption, from top to bottom. And when I say top to bottom, I mean
the top.
Even I, Biarugaba, as a member of Parliament, if I'm found guilty, I should be able to lose my job.
All right. Okay.
I should be able to lose that property I have acquired.
Sure.
You have seen it all.
Yes.
Are you happy really to hear that somebody was claiming your father's money, eating on your father's behalf for having worked for him? Pensions.
Really? You know what happened in South Korea? General Park.
Thank you very much for the time.
Yes.
General Park. This is how he did corruption. I'm not saying that this is what we should do. General Park. He was one of the early presidents.
Yes.
You see, there was a lot of corruption also in South Korea, particularly after their war, Korean War. Now, it was hindering delivery of service. So what his approach was, of course, the military approach, is that if you were found guilty of corruption, that's what he did. One, all the properties, all the wealth that you acquired went back to the state. And secondly,
including some that you had worked for generally.
Whether it was for your son, in the name of your son, your daughter, your mother, whoever, it was immaterial. If your mother can prove how she got that money, or your daughter can prove how she got that wealth, the state will wash its hands. Now, but if you cannot prove,
the state takes it.
The state takes it. And over and above that, colleague, this is what he did. He will take you as the father, put you in a father's court. The entire family went. He went over the board.
I think that was a little bit.
Yes, he went over the board.
Let's hear it.
Yes, he went over the board.
A little bit.
If you, as the breadwinner, the father, was found guilty of corruption, he fired you, your wife, and your children.
They shoot you.
That's
they used to do it in the Bible days. They ban you at that stake together with your family and all your property. They reduce your house to
nothing. Over the board. But as of today, you cannot go to South Korea and think you're going to corrupt anybody.
Now, you don't have to go to South Korea. I have a vivid classic case.
Yes.
And this is just next door in Rwanda.
Yes.
There is a classic example. Everybody, if you are interested, they will show you, take you. Here comes this engineer who works on a road as a road, I think, supervisor.
Yes.
A road from Kigali, in between Kigali and the Burundi border. This man does a shoulder job.
Yes.
The president himself inspects and orders for the arrest of this man. He's taken to court. He's given, of course, he's found guilty and sentenced 25 years. 25 years.
Not 60. Go on.
Without any chance of parole. 25 years. And you know what? He had an estate in Kigali. They will show you. This is the man's estate. That one was confiscated and is now state property. Sure, I think Uganda can do
That's
this.
what we should do. I mean, I've looked at the corruption. These days, you don't measure corruption by or whatever by looking at the pot belly alone. You look at the man's neck. It's like they've been fattened for the slaughter. Well, this is Spectrum on Radio 1. We're going for a break. We'll be back to stay tuned.
Everybody talking like this in the car, this in the bar. Doesn't even matter wherever you are. With overload, what you really don't know is one number. You get a little bit more.
A little longer. Send text to all your loved ones and love a little longer.
Get 15% extra airtime guaranteed every time you load with MTN. Simply dial *145#. Get talking all day up to midnight with MTN Overload.
MTN, everywhere you go.
When I sing from the night, I feel my soul come alive. Memories gliding back. I climb the hills of Chikasi. I see the walls of Chibu. I hear the roar of the lion in me. When I sip from the Nile.
As we celebrate 50 special years, Nile Special invites you to toast to our great land. Nile Special, the rich, rewarding taste from the source. You've earned it.
When I sip from the Nile.
Not for sale to persons under 18.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back on Spectrum tonight. Uganda at 50. How can the country deal with the bottlenecks hampering development and effective service delivery? Our guest tonight, Honorable Engineer Gabriel Ajedra, Member of Parliament for Arua Municipality, also newly named State Minister for Investment, Honorable Alex Biarugaba, Sinjiro South MP, also Chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee. You will be able to call in and contribute to this discussion. Honorable Engineer, talk to us about you are Minister for Investment. Let's hear your wisdom and outlook on liberalization. How far would you want us to go in reversing some of this or moderating some of the effects of a liberalization?
No, I think liberalization has been fairly well. I think the problems were the manner in which it was done. As my colleague Biarugaba said, that, you know, I think it was something which was new to us, and we did not know the intricacies, the intricacies of liberalization. We depended on specialists from outside, like the World Bank and others. But you see, for that to have happened, we needed to have built capacity within. We needed to have built capacity internally here before we started the process. I think we rushed the process. The process itself I think was rushed. That's all I'm saying. But the intent and the intentions
were good.
They were very good. There's no question about
the output.
The output was.
There's
good.
one textile company I will not name. I've spoken to the investor, the person who bought it. They used just about 10% when I spoke to them, and he said, "I don't mind because I have an annual turnover of $10 million, and 90% is lying idle." That's a textile company.
Yes.
And we import bed sheets, we import shirts from abroad, and we could have had them in the past. When I was growing up, our uniforms came from
from jeans. I remember. No, you want to name, but I mean, when I was growing up, when I was growing up, we used to get our uniforms and so on from Ginger, which I don't know which company it was, but we used to get our uniforms from Ginger. Now, you see, this is what I was talking about. You see, for us, I think what we need to do is, as His Excellency the President has said, now that there is security in the country, now we need to move to the next step. Now, this is how I wish to approach. We just came out of darkness until February, March, before Bujagal came on stream. Now, the demand for energy has been growing. I was talking about the infrastructure.
Yes.
That includes energy. The demand for power is growing at a rate of about 10% per annum. Now, if you have a situation where we have a big project like Karuma is held up
because of procurement hurdles,
because of procurement mismanagement, because of what? Now, what is going to happen? You know, a dam is not something you build in 2-3 years. Karuma most likely cannot take less than 4 to 5 years. It's a very complex thing to
before you get the power switched on.
Before you get the power switched on. Now, what happens between now and then?
We'll have a gap of 3 years at least.
We'll have a gap. Like today, I was saying in the caucus, you know what? We need to look at the energy component very, very.
Let's put it, Honorable Engineer.
Yes.
Give us your own outlook of the additive value of infrastructure. How infrastructure, and you'll qualify it for us, can give us multiple impact.
The cost of doing business, I'll tell you, the cost of doing business in this country is high compared to other countries. And partly it's because of our infrastructure. Power is certainly one of them. Okay? We went to Ghana as a committee that was investigating this energy crisis in the country. And in Ghana, hydropower, which contributes close to about 60% of energy requirements of Ghana, costs about 3.5 cents per kilowatt hour. 3.5.
Yes.
In Uganda here right now, I don't know the exact figure, but Bujagali, as of now, because of the financing, is close to 12 cents. Okay? UETCL, which is the Uganda Electricity Transmission Company, buys it from the generators at whatever cost, and is supposed to sell to Omeme, which is the distributor, at about 8 cents. So what are we saying? We're not saying that, okay, even if Bujagal, that 250 megawatts that has been put on the network, there's still that element of subsidy which is there. Because assuming that Bujagali was, let's say, about 4, 5 cents, 6 cents, let's say, for argument's sake, it means the tariff will be down. And that tariff will, the consumer, the end user consumer, will be paying less. Just imagine these big companies which consume a lot of electricity.
Well, roofings alone needs about 12 megawatts, 24 megawatts in Namav, one plant alone.
Yes. So you can imagine
a small town.
The huge cost. Instead of expanding, now you're paying your bills. You could expand and you make your company very big. But because you have to meet that energy requirement bill, it's going to be high.
Right.
Transport. Uganda is landlocked, yes. We have advantages and disadvantages of being landlocked. Now, the railway sector, the world over, the railway line is the cheapest form of transport. Cheapest. Now, most of our cargo to Uganda is coming by road.
From Mombasa.
And this is coupled with overloading on the road. The other day we drove with my committee to Mbale. The road which was done about 5 years ago has failed.
In Mbale?
No, just along the Jinja, Bugiri, Tororo.
Right.
It has totally failed. Why? Because of overloading. So I think as government we need to shift now our attention to make sure that we reduce the cost of doing business in the country, and transport is one of them, because we do import a lot of our materials from outside the country. So if you can concentrate on the railway sector, whether we borrow the money, whether we concession it,
we need to get
it, because then we're going to save on redoing our roads all the time.
Okay.
Because if you don't do that, I can guarantee you 5-6 years down the line.
You need another road, and those are not very cheap.
So it's like a bottomless pit where you just be going through money.
Sinking.
So we need to work on our infrastructure.
Okay. Honorable Ajere, Prime Minister Mbabazi says he spoke yesterday. He said that if the health and education sectors can benefit greatly if procurement inefficiencies were addressed. He says they can get a lot of money, well, much of what they need now, if we can, reduce the procurement inefficiencies. Give us a meat on that.
Procurement inefficiencies. Yesterday when you were debating this topic here, I wish I was here. I would have given you. I would have discussed with my colleagues in the PPDA. Now, as I told you, as I called in yesterday, I participated in drafting this procurement act you see here. With that gentleman called Cecil, who comes from the Caribbean, we drafted it in Botswana. But there is a difference in the way we have operationalized this act in Uganda as opposed to other countries, particularly Botswana. Now, I'll give you one typical example. If you look at one of the clauses here, now there is the evaluation team.
Yes.
First, start with those who give the specifications. Suppose you want to procure, let's say, medical supplies. The doctors will say these are the specifications, or even equipment. The doctors will say these are the specifications of the equipment that we need, and that's it. They will hand it over into the procurement and disposal unit.
Yes.
Which is now mandated to procure the services, whether it is works, whether it is supplies, whatever it is, they have to do that.
Yes.
Now, to be able to effect the law, it requires that an evaluation must be done by an independent team. That evaluation can only be done by somebody who understands that sector. You cannot bring an engineer to go and evaluate specifications for medicine. It can only be done by those who understand. Technocrats within that. Now, the award of the tender, and this is where the problem is in Uganda, as far as this law is concerned.
Right.
You have what we call a procuring entity. Let's say Ministry of
Works.
As an argument. No, I don't want to go to works. I'll go. Let me go to Ministry of Health or Ministry of Energy. Okay, they have what is called procurement and disposal unit within that ministry. Now you have the technical team who does the evaluation. They are still within the same ministry. You have the appointing authority, the accounting officer, who appoints, who signs the contract of all these individuals here. He's the one who appoints them, he's the one who renews the contract, he does everything within the same organization. Okay, so the evaluation is going to be done by the evaluation committee. It will be sent over to the contracts committee within the same organization, and they'll do the analysis and agree or disagree and award the contract. The accounting officer binds government. The whole thing is being done within the same institution.
Okay, all right.
Now, where the difference comes in, I'll tell you where the problem is.
Yes.
In Botswana, specifications, evaluations are done within the procuring entity. Let's say Ministry of Health.
Yes.
But the award
is done by somebody else.
Somebody else outside.
Here it is centralized when it should be different arms.
It should be.
Power should be devolved.
It has to be. Sense. You cannot be the investigator and the judge at the same time.
All right. Let's our time cuts is short. Maybe we'll probably talk about something this in deeper detail because it has. I mean, the Prime Minister made a very important statement. Yes. We can find money if we can only create a certain level of efficiencies.
What does the World Bank say? How much do we lose in corruption?
Half a trillion.
Should not be bickering here in the Parliament over 39 billion.
Out of that, 300 billion is procurement alone.
It's procurement alone.
Honorable Diarugaba, talk to us about the structure of our budget, the quality of our budget. How is it structured and how can it be improved? Some people think we spend too much on public administration, but give us the whole analysis of the structure of our budget.
Well, the budget is in a way well structured. It's only the implementation that at times...
You think it's well structured?
Yeah.
RDCs and so on, districts every day?
Yeah, that one is something that we can discuss another day. But all said and done, one, our budget has 2 areas, for instance, if I make 3, let's say 2. Let me call them 2.
Yes.
One is the productive sector. we tend to concentrate on the productive sector, whose money in most cases is ring-fenced. In other words, if there are any cuts, they do not affect them as much as those others. Then the other one is in the public sector, public administration sector. These are non-productive sectors as far as creation of wealth is concerned, so to say. Although when you go to analyze, I don't think there is any sector that is not productive in a way. Creation of wealth. So, yes, the
Creation of wealth.
create wealth.
Who is not productive? But let's
Something like say,
go on. Go on, sir.
So this is where we maybe go wrong. We tend to emphasize, unfortunately, more the public administration sector, where you find a lot of money going, and not necessarily emphasizing the production sector. For instance, agriculture. For instance, infrastructure. For instance, health. For instance, education. These are the real key, what I would call the key result areas. You put in money and you see a result. You pump money in buying tractors, you are sure the next season you will have a bumper harvest. What does that mean to an economy? When you have a bumper harvest, that means the food inflation will go down. That means the nutrition of your children and everybody in the country will be very good. That food security will be an assured deal. So it means everything. That means more people will get more money will go into our economy, more purchasing power for people will be higher. The industries will therefore run every day bigger and higher. So this is where we have been, I think, going a little bit astray. But also we must accept the situation that we have been in. I'm not just urging for the sake of it. Where have we been?
25 years ago, we have a clean run for 25 years.
It has not been easy, by the way. We tend to forget where we were and how much it has taken us to change that bad situation. We were going down into the deep.
We put the brakes, now we're accelerating.
Into the deep end. We had gone down there. We somehow were coming up out of that deep hole. We're now at the surface. But people are now beginning to think, all this time, what have we been doing? What have we done? Not forgetting that actually where we're coming from. But all that said and done, I wanted to make a small hint on the procurement as a basis upon which service delivery lies mostly.
Yes.
The cycle, this procurement cycle in Uganda itself is very tedious, very bureaucratic and dead. It's horrible. He tried to go through those ones, but even at the very last end, remember now, you must have this award cleared by the Attorney General. You have these other administrative challenges. We have a very good example, Chikagate-Mbarara Road. The president has always been saying, this Chikagate-Mbarara Road, and he had cleared it, government had cleared it, but when it comes to procurement, it took almost 4 or 5 years.
So the process of
procuring a road.
Let's move on.
Can I jump in there? One of the problems which I forgot to actually say yesterday, Edmond, is that we have PPDA has not implemented this act fully. There is a need to do what is called standardization. And when I said yesterday that PPDA Uganda should go and learn from Botswana, I knew what I was talking about. Although they became very defensive. You see what has happened to cut down on this cycle that he's talking about, this lengthy procurement process. What has been done in Botswana is that they have standardized all contracts.
Then it's easier.
They have standardized all procurement documents. What you do as a bidder is to take a pen
and fill in the goods.
And get the attachments.
We'll have to probably talk about
it is deadlines.
Talk about procurement. It's a deep
it's a deep
as the Prime Minister said yesterday, you can save a lot of money in finance and education. So we need to go deeper into this. Listeners, you can call in now. Our number is 0414 348 111 0312 260 390 031 226 1390. When you call in, please tell us your name and where you are calling from. We seem to be having a challenge on that side of the phone lines. Let's continue.
Why do we wait for them? So, standardization is a requirement of the Act. In Botswana, it has been done. Now, what it does is that somebody cannot claim that, you know what, you do not put your tax clearance, you do not put this, and so on. Let me tell you something. There's also something else. And I want the board of PPDA or the executive director to listen very carefully. It's one of the reasons why there is so much corruption here, where there's administrative reviews and where there's this. This is what we did.
Okay.
There was a problem in terms of loss of documents, essential documents from tender documents, from bids which are submitted by
files get lost.
Well, not files, but essential documents where you'll be knocked off instantly. You know what we started to do in Botswana? We made sure that you are going to evaluate in a closed circuit environment. The cameras were there watching because that was the only way to try to cut down on this. Not to say there's no corruption in Uganda. I mean in Botswana, but it has been minimized because of the measures that have been put in place.
Okay, so listeners, we're still having a challenge with the phone lines, but you can text your question or comment, send it to 7197. That is Spectrum message, question or comment, send it to 7197 as we try and rectify the lines. Yes. Yeah,
the administrative to cut on the administrative review.
Okay, the lines are now on. You can call in. The number is 0414-348-111, 0312-260-390, 0312-261-390. Yes, engineer.
Yes. To cut down on the loss of essential documents in bid submissions, this is what the Procurement Board of Botswana did. They said all bidders are going to supply 2 originals. Okay?
Yes.
And 3 copies. Now, what it did was to make sure that all original documents, one set of original documents, were kept by the board. Yes. The procuring entity was given the other set of original plus the copies to do the evaluation, so that when a report came that bidder A did not is lost, all the board did was to go back to the archives, pick up the bid submissions, say, but you see our record here shows that bidder A had his tax clearance. If he has it here, surely it must be there.
So 2 things I'm picking out. One, standardization is very important.
Essential.
Secondly, transparency.
Transparency is very, very important.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was still you had asked something about our budget. One good information and news is that at least today as we talk, out of the 11 trillion, if I may just round up the figure of our budget, 3/4 of this money is you Ugandans' money, your money, my money, our money, taxpayers' money of Uganda. That is one good mark for us. At least we are no longer heavily reliant on the so-called donors, or what we prefer to call development partners. And of course, there are also these imposition of conditionalities by the IMF and other agencies that work for the World Bank and what have you. We still have those ones. Not very many, because now we can stand on our toe and say, hey, if you are not prepared to work with us on Karuma Dam, we have an energy fund and we are prepared to start work.
Okay, we have the lines rectified. Yes, your name?
John.
This is Spectrum, your name?
My name is John.
Yes, John.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, John. Spectrum, hello?
Hello.
Yes, your name?
From Matata.
Mr. Matata, yes?
I'm asking about the issue.
Please switch off your radio when you call in so we get a clear communication from your side. Spectrum, hello? Okay, let's tackle those to engineer.
Yes.
Honorable Yaruga, perhaps. You'd really like to handle them?
Well, I could handle 1 or 2. The long process, as I had, of course, if I had time, I would have taken you through the process. I have it here and I know it.
Let's run through it very quickly.
You want to, 1?
Okay, we have another caller. Your name?
Yes, listening.
Yes, sir, your name?
My name is Jimmy.
Jimmy?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to this. So thank you very much indeed, Jimmy, and the other callers. Honorable Biaruga.
Yeah, the long process, thank you very much, Mr. The long process, I want to agree partly with Jimmy that actually this policy partly is good, but partly is also bad because of that bureaucratic nature, the way it is. It's not, by the way, Jimmy, let me tell you, this one is necessary as of now, it's doing a disservice to us as Ugandans. I think it's a high time we got rid of this one, and I think we are going to sit down, rumple it up and down, and come out with one clear document that will serve the interests of Uganda. Remember the way it came about. It was driven by donors. You know, these.
Thank you.
You know, by donors. This one does not necessarily serve you, Jimmy, and my interests. No, it serves the interests of the international community, which wants to come with all, because they have the facilities to do it. They have the time to waste. So,
time to waste.
Yes.
Wrong word.
Information. I wanted just to give you information on that one,
Please,
colleague.
my colleague.
You see, in Botswana, World Bank funds some projects. But you know what they have done? What the Botswana have done? They have made sure that the requirements of the World Bank are actually incorporated in that standard document. So that there's no need for them to go back to say, no, we're getting clearance from Washington, clearance from where? No, all the requirements. The government of Botswana said, okay, you know what? As World Bank, give us your requirements. They said, these are our requirements. They incorporated them into the standard documents, so that whenever there was a procurement process, there was no need to refer to Washington anywhere for clearance.
Right.
Because
it's already on the ground.
It's on the ground.
I want to be on record that the design of this document is actually foreign. It's to serve the interests of the foreigners. You know, a law should be made to make work easy. It should be applicable to the community.
Do you agree with John?
Do you agree realistic at all?
That procurement loopholes were left there deliberately. Do you agree on that?
I think so. You know what? I'll tell you. This is why I said I wish we could have another day to discuss this.
We'll probably have to discuss.
You see, what happened is that in Botswana, when we discovered those loopholes, amendments were done to plug them.
Here they're left to go.
I don't think.
Leakages.
Actually, I was interested. I hope when I joined the parliament, I was going to have my contribution made to amend the to give my suggestions on the amendments to the PPDA Act. But I was told I was really late for that. So I left
proposing some reforms.
Yes, we need some reforms in the PPDA Act. We need substantial.
Mr. Matata wanted an explanation of the Karuma delays. Honorable Biaruga, do you have some data?
I really don't have the most recent as to why there is likely to be another delay. Maybe we could prepare that one, and I don't want to talk about something that I'm not very private.
And they had to cancel tenders.
Well, we've also, me and you have had that. It has not been brought to our attention officially. So I don't want to speculate.
But also the other things, the matter is under subsidy. So it would be improper to discuss it on the radio anyway.
Yeah, but as we were saying anyway, when you look at the cycle, you have to look at the budget. It's like a budget. You plan and budget for the approval. You take to the user departments to initiate. The PDU takes up the process of advertising.
PDU is what?
Procurement unit.
Procurement unit. Procurement and disposal unit. Then you carry out evaluation by the committees to evaluate these bids, and then submit these recommendations and report to the contracts committee. You can see now all that time. Then the report is presented to this other committee by the secretary, who is also the head of the PDU. Then the contracts committee makes a decision on the best evaluated bidder, and they by advising the accounting officer on whom to award the contract. You see, then this other, after of course awarding, it must also be taken to the Solicitor General, and we are having a problem. I have had, I was doing it myself. I worked as a civil servant. I was an accounting officer. The biggest problem now we have is from there.
Some corruption of city.
It comes down to standardization.
Right.
Once you have standardized
it, you know the grave or the size of stones for a maram,
yes,
for a tarmac road.
Even the contract, this
the oil
clearance here, this clearance.
That clearance bit.
We have to go. It's a deep topic. We'll probably have to discuss this.
I think we'll have to discuss it.
Thank you very much, dear guests. Very interesting discussion tonight. Honorable Engineer Gabriel Jedra, newly named State Minister for Investment. We wish you the best of luck there. You're a very focused man. You're telling us off the record that you're an engineer. you go for products, things that can be quantified.
Mine is the result. I really want to see results.
Not politics.
I want to be judged by the results.
Not the color of your speech in front of Our second guest was Honorable Alex Biaruga by Sinjiro South MP, Chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Honorable Jedra is also Arua Municipality MP. I'm not an MP, but I'm Edmond Chizito, your host. Thank you for tuning in. Spectrum will be back tomorrow.
Hello, Uganda. This is Regina Bell. And for my very first